Right. Oh, by the way, Ian, this goes out on YouTube. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, then.
Don't need to wear any disguises for that, Jamie.
There's some people, they get a bit funny about them. I don't like being on YouTube, mind. I don't like having my face out. They believe does the Rat Pod. He likes to build these videos on YouTube. So, just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you call him from Harping on rugby?
Jeff. Yeah.
Jeff puts part of his out on YouTube. So, no, I've no issues with that.
Brilliant. Okay. Right then. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Dragons Lair podcast, your home all things Dragons RFC and rugby in the region. I'm Jamie, hope you're all doing well. Now, unfortunately, Gavin can't be with us this week due to work commitments, but I'm not on my own. I am joined by a guest for our View from the Opposition podcast. Now, Dragons are away to Ulster on Saturday night, and to help us preview that game and chat some Irish rugby, we have Ulster supporter Ian Frizzell. Ian, welcome to the pod.
Jimmy, thank you very much for inviting me on. First time, so looking forward to it.
No problem. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. So before we talk about Ulster and the Dragons, I thought we'd start with the Six Nations and look back on Wales's defeat to Ireland. So it's fair to say it was a plucky performance by Wales, but it did finish Ireland 31, Wales 7. Ireland's bonus point try coming in the 81st minute. And that win keeps Ireland's Grand Slam hopes on track. But for Wales, it is unfortunately played 3, lost 3, with France up next in Cardiff. So Ian, another win for Ireland, looking on course for that Grand Slam. What did you make of the game?
It was a tougher game than I was envisaging. I thought it was a lot better Welsh performance than the previous 2 games that they played. They were under the pump quite a bit in the first half and defended so very, very well. I made the comment to a couple of people that that's one thing that you'll get from any Welsh team is their ability to defend. And I think that old Sean Edwards stuff, even though he's gone, there's still a bit of that tree and root still there within the Welsh squad. So very impressed by that. Although in saying that, I thought Ireland could have racked up maybe another couple of scores in the first half. I thought at half time wasn't really a reflection on the overall game, but by full time, I was damn pleased to picked up that bonus point in overtime at the end of the game. So Welsh were a bit unlucky in a couple of the decisions. I thought Wainwright had scored a try.
Yes. It looked like a try, didn't it? Yeah.
It very much did. And surprised that it wasn't pulled up by the TMO for a wee look. Obviously, refs can miss those things very easily. It happens in the blink of an eye. He'd maybe looked at something else just at that particular time. I know he was giving a penalty at that stage. I think he was. He had his arm out, but yeah, it was a bad miss, and probably the Welsh play in the second half. You probably deserved a second score. So I'm not totally convinced on the first score, but it stood. So there's not a lot can be said for it. It was a strange decision. Didn't look that terribly bad. What he talked about, changing his bind. Which was, you see that in every game, I suppose, that sort of thing. But anyway, it was given. But from a Welsh point of view, there's some cracking young fellas coming through there. They're going to be around for a long time. And Warren Gatland, probably the best man to pull everything back together for Wales. Been very rocky since this time last year when he took over again. And you've gone through a lot of players retiring. and the well documented infighting, I suppose you could call it, which almost culminated in a strike. So all those things can't have been good for Wales going into the World Cup, but it's nice to see some progress, I think, since then, and certainly a few players going to take Wales into the future, and we should see them back, fighting for championships in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually. And so one of the questions I had for you was, from an outsider point of view, what have you made of Wales? Because, the cold hard facts are that we've played 3, lost 3 in this year's tournament. That was our 10th loss in 11 Six Nations games. But with the young talent that is coming through, the likes of Cam Winnett, Alex Mann, David Jenkins, who I think is doing a fantastic job leading the team. Do you believe there's reasons to be cheerful going forward for Wales, even if we do eventually, if we do win the wooden spoon? That game against Italy does look like it could be a wooden spoon decided. Do you feel there's reason to be cheerful from a Welsh point of view?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't fear the wooden spoon, Jamie, if I was Wales, because I think that's just roughly where you're at the moment. Italy's improvement and just where the Welsh sit means that's going to be could be one of the best games of the championship. But without doubt, I do see that there will be there has to be improvement. I mean, if you take where all the teams are, we'll leave the French out of it at the minute because I'm not sure just what's happening there. But Ireland came back from the World Cup probably unlucky not to have gone a bit further. That one-off game against New Zealand, with a very, very settled squad, able to soak up that change from Sexton leaving, and that's really the only change. A couple of guys who forced their way into the squad. So from that point of view, very settled. England on a rebuild, not sure just that Borthwick knows his best team or his best plan to get the best out of his team. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Scotland, a bit like ourselves, well settled, good side. And then you've Wales, who are, well, Italy the same, I think, pretty settled, although able to bring in a couple of new guys who look very exciting. But Wales basically having to start from the ground and come up. Some of the players I don't think are long-term international class.
Okay.
One or two, particularly maybe front row guys. So you're going to have to look, I think, to strengthen in that area. The Welsh backs, ever since I was a boy watching rugby, I've always been excited watching Welsh teams play because their backs just play with a gay abandon. And you've got a couple of young fellas in there. The young is it Winnett?
Hammer Winnett, yeah.
The fullback, Costello at 10. Those guys are really there for the future. They look immense players, and those, I think Wales can build on that. And then you've got settled guys like your own Rio Dyer, who British Lion. I wouldn't be surprised. If he goes on the tour next year, would not surprise me in the least. And then in the forwards in particular, you've guys like again your own Wainwright, fantastic player, had a super game on Saturday. Wouldn't look out of place in any international team. So there's good there. I don't know an awful lot about your new captain. Pardon me, but he looks like nearly a clone of Alan Wynne Jones.
Yeah.
Just purely for his work rate. You know, there's no flashiness about him, but he's a grafter. So, and every team needs a grafter. So I think you've got the basis of a team. A lot of where you will end up maybe in 4 years' time at the next World Cup will depend on, I think, what you're going to bring through in the positions where you're maybe not just as strong. And I think front row's one of those things where you need to be improving quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think coming into this tournament, we knew that tight head prop in particular was going to be an issue and the fly half. And look, we got to stick with these young guys. We got to stick with Costello. We got to stick with Owen Lloyd. It's going to be a bit of pain. We don't have that experienced general at 10 anymore. You know, we haven't got Dan Bigger. We haven't got Gareth Anscombe. There is going to be a lot of pain, I think, in the next 2 or 3 years. But I do believe, Ian, that this Wales team can progress and the young talent will develop. But I think the Welsh public, and Gatland did mention this, but he should have mentioned it before the tournament started, rather than saying, you know, we could absolutely win this tournament. But I just think it requires patience from everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he did. I think Gatland actually did say, you know, that in his own inimitable way, not to be expecting too much from the team. But I suppose, like any other coach, you know, he's going to have the guys as fired up as he possibly can, and what you know, you have to say that you think you're in with a chance of winning every time that you take the pitch, you know, and if you didn't do that, you'd be better off, you know, working behind a bar somewhere, wouldn't you?
So where do you rate Warren Gatland as a coach then, Ian? Do you think quite highly of him?
As a coach purely, yes, I rate him fairly high. As a person, I've never really taken to him. But look, he has proved himself time and time again, and you know, he's been at the very top and won at the very top. So he's got Six Nations under his belt. He's got Lions wins under his belt. So his record will stand the test of time for me. No one better to take that young Welsh side forward. I just can't think of anyone else in Welsh rugby at the moment that would be capable of doing that. So fingers crossed that you know, things go well, because we all need a successful Welsh side going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of Ireland then, Ian, England next in Twickenham, and then Scotland in Dublin.
Yeah.
Be honest, can you see any of those teams stopping Ireland? I mean, this is a procession now, isn't it? Ireland for the Grand Slam, or can you see England perhaps, or Scotland putting a spanner in the works, do you think?
Look, at any level of sport, Jamie, and particularly at international level, you can never say that you know, you're 100% sure of anything. You know, the bounce of the ball, you know, you know, an accidental head contact, and you know, you've lost a man, or you know, you've been made look silly because the ball has bounced past you and somebody's latched onto it. So all those things have to be taken into account. On current form, Ireland should win both those games. The nagging thing for me with England is England are always hard to beat in Twickenham. They don't lose too many. And they've had our measure over the years, although I don't think that this Ireland team and this Ireland squad fear going anywhere now, having won basically at every you know, every top stadium in the world now. So not in the least bit worried in that respect. A wee bit maybe in that we don't know what Borthwick is doing with that England team at the moment.
Yeah.
And you know, someday he's going to put a 15 out, and that's going to click. and you know, it could well be next weekend. We don't know. I hope not. It's, you know, it's just it's a big unknown. But going by what I've seen over the first 3 games, I don't think Ireland need worry too much about them. Scotland, I don't think they're the best. I don't think they're the you know, the best that they can be, and I'm not sure that Townsend is the man to get the best out of them. I still think that their forward pack lack something, whether it's just the doggedness or a bit of something. They have good individual players, but they tend to come up short a wee bit. They've backs that, you know, some other teams would die for.
Yeah.
And you know, they've cast the net pretty wide to get to get a team capable of competing at the highest level, and you know, fair play to them. But I particularly coming to Dublin, I don't think that they'll. Obviously they'll give us a game, but I don't think they're good enough to beat us in Dublin. You know, we went last year. We went to Edinburgh in the corresponding fixture, and the Scots were going pretty well at that stage. I think we blew them away.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right. Yeah, you got a good record over Scotland as well, haven't you? And Ireland, you know, they always seem to win. I can't remember the last time Scotland beat Ireland, but it seems like a while ago now. They just seem to have that hex over them, don't they?
Yeah, it is. It is quite a few years. I remember I was actually at the game with a Scottish friend who came over for that game. That was one where Richie Gray sidestepped. I think it was Rob Kearney. To get through in a try and sue. But yeah, it's probably 10 or 11 years ago now, I would have thought. So yeah. No, they don't. And that's what you know, what I'm saying. There's just something, you know, it's I think it's up here with the Scots, because they have the players, but they're just that something that just is holding them back. As I say, it may well be that it'll take a different coach to get them that last step, that they're really capable of going out and being favourites against, you know, some of the bigger teams.
And before we move on to Ulster, then, what have you made of the Six Nations as a whole, then, Ian? Have you enjoyed this tournament from an entertainment point of view? I mean, as Irish, when you're going to be enjoying it, aren't you?
I love the Six Nations.
Yeah.
Always have. You know, I'll sit down on a Saturday morning and get myself ready and watch everything that's going on. I just think the whole thing is so well put together. I have a few issues maybe with television presentations and commentary teams and pundits and things, but sure, that gives us something to vent when we go on social media then afterwards. But no, the whole thing it still excites me. I just think it's a tremendous competition. Some of the rugby is good, some of the rugby is maybe not as good. But look, at the end of the day, it's it's international rugby, and you know, we don't see enough of it. I think to do some more.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then, Ian, let's talk Ulster. That's why you're here. So let's be honest about it. It has been a disappointing season so far by Ulster standards. Dan McFarland has departed after disappointing results. And let's be honest, that post-match interview after the Ospreys defeat probably didn't help matters today. And I know that you were quite angry about that, looking at your social media posts. So what are your thoughts on the McFarland action, Ian? And do you feel it was the right decision by the club?
Yes, I do think it was the right decision. We had been questioning for a good few games now. We'd been questioning what was going on. Right from the very start of the season, really, there was there was the early part of the season where he was blooding youngsters, and we thought, that this can only be good. And we were, I suppose, prepared for a few iffy performances. But as we got into sort of towards the European stuff, and he was putting out what was supposedly the strongest team, just the performances just weren't coming. We had the issue of the game against Racing, where our forwards scored a couple of tries from 5-meter tap and goals, and sort of came out afterwards that it was really player led. The players made those decisions, and we're seeming to get sort of thinking to ourselves, I suppose, that there was something wrong. Communications between coaches and players just didn't seem to be what it should be. We know there was a bit of history over the past couple of seasons where some players were frozen out, and I don't want to go into that, but I do know from at a personal level, I do know a couple of those instances, and really that's not what you would be expecting from senior management. And it just went on, and then he sort of disappeared for a couple of weeks, where he was sending out Dan Soper to do pre and post match interviews, and then it sort of culminated with that post match interview on the Sunday against the Ospreys. And yes, I was very, very disappointed with that. I can accept defeat. I can accept defeat sometimes, not very well, but I had no issues with the defeat. There were maybe issues with the manner of it from a team and players' point of view, but there was no issues with the referee at all. And for Dan McFarland to come out and first of all more or less blame the referee, and then I thought pretty disappointingly sort of brushed off the questions from the young lady who was doing the interview, and that was just not how I wanted my club to be reflected.
No, that's fair enough. So how do you look back then on the Dan McFarland era then, Ian? Do you think it was a success overall? Or how do you look back on his time at Ulster?
Well, I think when they took over, we were in a pretty poor place, and probably even poorer place than what we are now. So yeah, and the couple of years after that, he has done very, very well. It's hard to put a sort of finger on it, but a lot of people would say the game against Leinster, where we lost the 19-point lead at halftime, was probably the to coin a phrase, straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And things just went awry after that. And it's one of those situations where if something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong at Ulster. We had that debacle about the pitch. That didn't help. Apparently, when we went to Steel, we had players going in two different directions to try and get, very amateurish stuff. And you just wonder how much the financial pressures at the club have impacted on the playing side. Why were we traveling the way we traveled? Why, and I know some of the answers, but why did we allow our pitch to become frozen when everyone knew what the weather forecast was? So, pardon me. There's loads of questions that you can ask, but I think for the first 2 years of Dan's tenure, things were really looking up. We lost narrowly in against the Stormers in that URC semi-final, beaten and basically in overtime, and that was getting us possibly a home final. We could have won the URC, and that would have been some monkey off the backs of Ulster just to get over the line for some silverware. He's been in there. He's been fighting the corner. He's had that. He's had the final of the URC against a very strong Leinster, and a couple of sort of very good games against Toulouse, winning down in Toulouse. Look, good coach. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that circumstances have led to a situation where I don't think that players were fully behind him. So, and I think at the end of the day, rather than Ulster making the decision, I think the decision was made by the RFU.
Okay. Can you just enlighten me on the financial situation at Ulster? Because I read that it's not looking very good. And could we see some high-profile departures, do you think?
Well, the rumours that are coming out, and I don't think that Billy Burns is a rumour anymore. I think that's a done deal.
From Munster, isn't it?
Aye, from what I hear. Yes, I think what Petrie said yesterday in his interview is that the squad will be refreshed, but we're hearing rumours of like Dave Ewers, who we only signed at the beginning of the season, of him leaving, of Will Addison having talks with to go back to Sale. Those are pretty high profile guys. There's a couple of other sort of more senior players who are out of contract, and whether they get contracts renewed or not will be difficult to see. We obviously signed Stephen Kitchoff on a 2-year deal. Questions are being asked, and rightly so. Were we aware of our financial position when we did that deal? That's potentially £1.5 million over 2 years.
Does it come cheap? There's a World Cup within props, so they don't come cheap.
You don't get them cheap. No, you definitely don't. So that said, and I've said this a few times, it's very difficult to sell a product if you've devalued it. So if the CEO is doing his job at all, and his senior management team, then they need to be recruiting as well. That's a job for somebody who can look at the spreadsheet and fit particular players into roles that we can afford. I think back to previous times when we signed guys like Louis Ludick, who turned out to be, real stalwarts at the club, and put you in 80-minute performances every time they took to the pitch. But probably when they first signed, they're not high profile, so they're not costing you an awful lot. So I think they've got to go out and find 2 or 3 guys of that sort of ilk,
Yeah. Okay. So Richie Murphy is going to take over the Ulster coach as an interim head coach from the under-20s. Once he's finished the campaign, he'll join up with Ulster. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good appointment in the short term, at least?
I think it's probably as good as what we could have hoped for. The only other option would have been to promote from the guys who are there. And I know Dan Soper is in charge for the game this weekend. I have my own views on where he sits in the league table of head coaches. But I think it just adds to my view that IRFU, took charge of this at the end of or after that Ospreys game, and Richie Murphy is probably the only sort of high-profile guy who's available. I'm excited to see what he can do. He has already worked with, maybe 6 or 8 of our young guys at 20s level over the past couple of seasons. So he knows them, they know him, and they'll be fired up to prove to him that they're worth placing the team. So he has a tough run, 2 games in South Africa, and then back with Cardiff, with Benetton, and with Leinster, all to play after that. So it's not going to be an easy run for him. But if he can keep us in the top 8 and get us a knockout game or 2, and they still got the Challenge Cup to have a blast at. And I don't think anybody's really overly concerned about that, but it may be an opportunity to send a team to a misfiring Montpellier, and get a decent result. And any good results from now on in are going to do the world of good from a confidence point of view.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say to you, because yes, it has been a disappointing season for Ulster, by their high standards, but there is still plenty to play for, isn't there? You have got a shot of making the URC playoffs, and you mentioned there, you are in the last 16 of the Challenge Cup away at Montpellier, and maybe Ulster should be taking the Challenge Cup seriously, because it is silverware at the end of the day. I mean, how do you feel about that? Would you like to see Ulster give that competition a good crack, or is the priority for you the URC and getting into those playoffs?
I'm one of these people who believe that you should be trying to win every game that you go out to play in. And to be honest with you, I don't think that we have such massive squad of players that we can afford to sort of send a sort of like Leinster, send an A team out here and a senior team out there. So a couple of years ago, we dropped into the Challenge Cup, and I was very excited to win games, albeit one of them against a very poor Harlequins team. But when it got to losing the semi-final against Leicester, I was as disappointed losing that as I was disappointed losing any game. So for me, I hope that they do give the Challenge Cup a bit of a run if they can. But yeah, bread and butter is the URC. They really need to try and get to playoffs. I don't know if top 4 is within reach. It depends on how we come back from South Africa, I suppose. But from the financial point of view, a home playoff in the URC would be a godsend for us.
It's a very competitive league, isn't it, Ian, the URC? How do you feel about this since the South Africans have come on board?
I think that's been a lifeblood for it. I think all you have to do is look at where you guys are, where the Welsh regions are. When before the South Africans came in, when it was you were nearly guaranteed to have 2, possibly 3 teams getting through to European competition. It was very easy just to take things as read. They come in and they provide a different type of opposition, particularly down in South Africa. But I think it's made the other teams sit up and take notice. You only have to look at the improvement from the Italians. Benetton are sitting in top of the playoffs position. Zebra are maybe not getting reward for some of the play that they
But they've
have.
improved. They have improved, haven't they?
But both the Scottish teams are very, very difficult to play against and beat. Ospreys have proved over the past few weeks, both in the URC and in Europe, that they're starting to become very competitive. At some stage, the Scarlets are going to shake off whatever shackles are there on them and start to become a bit more competitive. Cardiff are a lovely team to watch playing, and they will win games that sometimes they shouldn't win. And then we come to Dragons, and can I say they've always been my favourite Welsh region for no other reason than I have two very good friends who support them. Again, just by virtue of the fact that the other Welsh teams are improving, I think Dragons will improve as well. It's a dogfight at that end of the table, and
Yes.
every point has to be earned. But it's a lot. I know it doesn't appeal to every Welsh supporter, but it's a lot better product. It's a lot more competitive league than it used to be.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So have you watched many Dragons games this season, Ian? Have you had a chance to watch a couple of games?
I try to watch as many games as I possibly can. And yeah, I've seen a few, a couple of their games, and then I usually pick up the URC highlights reels as well. So yeah, I try and keep an eye on what's happening. I wouldn't be terribly familiar with most of the squad that Dragons have now, but as I've alluded to earlier on, you still have some cracking players there, international class players.
Bradley Roberts, of course, Ian, remember him? Good old
I
Bradley.
remember Bradley very, very well. and look, we were disappointed actually to lose him.
Yeah.
But you couldn't fault the guy. He's stuck a couple of Welsh caps onto his CV, and he's not a bad player, but an enthusiastic player, and I assume he'll be in the squad for the weekend.
He's injured at the moment, so yeah, I don't know if he is going to recover from injury or not yet. We haven't had an injury update at the time of recording this, but
right.
Yeah, he is currently injured. So
right. And would you expect to get any of the guys back from the Welsh camp for the weekend?
Okay, so here's the thing. Dragons are injury ravaged at the moment. We had 21 players unavailable going into the Glasgow game a couple of weeks ago, and we picked up injuries there. So we had guys like Kai Evans coming off, George Young coming off, and the winger whose name escapes me, Jared Rosser. He came off as well. So it just added to our injury rows. Now, as things stand, we've only got 2 fit back rowers headed into this game. So we've got Dan Lydiat and we've got Sean Lonsdale. Those are our only 2 fit back rowers. Now, that may change over the next couple of days. So if I'm Di Flanagan, I'm getting on the phone to Warren Gatland and asking very nicely, please, can we have Tame Basham back? Because I don't see any reason why we can't have Tame back for this game.
He's not really pushing for a starting position with the Wales at the moment, is he?
No, that's right. And Mackenzie Martin took his place for the Ireland game.
He's down the list a wee bit. Yeah, so yeah, he would be a good inclusion for you.
Yeah, well, we need him because we haven't got any back rowers at all. So when Dragons travel to Belfast, they're going to be without a lot of players. So we're really up against it, unfortunately. So let's talk about that game then. So this Saturday night, 7:35, Ulster hosting Dragons at the Kingspan. Ian, here's a question for you. When was the last time Dragons won at Ulster? Do you know the year?
I'm going to say the last time Dragons beat Ulster is
Well,
probably
in Belfast.
No, well, I'm trying to think the last time we lost to Dragons at all was probably about 9 or 10 years ago. So I'm going to say 2000. I'm going to say 15 years ago, whatever that is. 2009.
Very close. It was 2008. And Dragons won 16-14. That was the last win in Belfast.
Wow.
And here's another interesting stat for you. I don't know if you know this. The last Welsh region to win in Belfast was the Scarlets. And that was way back in February 2016.
Yep.
So Ulster have got a very good record against Welsh regions in Belfast, haven't they?
Yeah. That's 8 years ago. I was at that game. And I'm trying to remember the guy, a back row player. His brother played out half for Scarlets.
Shingler.
Very man. He got a penalty or something. Very close to Ulster's line. And he butted the ball into the crowd and nearly took the head off me. we weren't best pleased. So it was the out half. Sorry, it was out half. It was his brother who had won the penalty, I think.
Steve Shingler, we would have been.
Yeah. So he blasted the ball into the crowd. From 2 yards from the touchline. To go for the line out, but it didn't go down too well now. So I can remember that, and I think that was the game. I think that was the actual game that we lost. But no, we do. We tend to do pretty well. Maybe not so well when we go across to Wales. Although I suppose over the last maybe 3 or 4 years been a bit better, but that's more down to the Welsh regions. Performances than Ulster's performances, but we've always been hard to beat at home, Jamie, and you would know that.
Of course, yeah.
And not. I won't take any glee in saying I don't see that changing this weekend. To be honest with you,
no.
Even though we are, in a bit of turmoil ourselves, I think. We should be able to rally the troops well enough to get a win.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dragons have not won away in the URC since beating Connacht, and that was in October 2021.
Oh my goodness.
It's been, yes, we have a habit, Ian, of making unwanted records at the Dragons. So it's it's pretty bad. Our away form really does stink. And like you said, I don't see that changing. And I read today that Ulster are expected to have Ireland internationals Nick Timoney, Jacob Stockdale, Tom Stewart, and Tom O'Toole available to them for this game, according to RTE. So that's a big boost for you. So going into this game, there, you must be, like I said, fairly confident. And I guess with Ulster in turmoil, I guess Dragons is the perfect opportunity, isn't it, to get back to winning ways, isn't it?
Well, I suppose yes, you could say that. But what I can say is, in response to those guys being released, we thought that was going to get us an easy win over in Swansea the previous weekend when we got 4 or 5 released from the camp, and look how that turned out. So as I said earlier on, you don't know what's going to happen, the bounce of the ball, per decision by a ref or anything at all. So I never take anything too much for granted. But I would have to agree with you, Jamie, that if you've been picking a team to play after losing your coach and having to sort of reset, then it would probably be either Dragons or Zebra. So poor Dragons, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It's honest.
Yeah, but look, they're coming across. They probably know all this stuff themselves, so they've nothing to lose. They've no pressure really on them. They can go out and enjoy themselves. And we've got a lovely plastic pitch now across there. So the skill and that you've inevitably got in the team. The guys are going to be able to show that.
Okay, then. So let's finish up with a prediction. So I made my prediction on the Wrap pod that I did yesterday, and I took everything into account. The fact that Ulster could have a, to use football term, new manager bounce. Players have a point to prove, don't they? You've got your Irish internationals back. Dragons are low on confidence, passive defence. Like, we don't have a defence coach, and it really shows. We're struggling big time at the moment. Some of our skill set isn't up to it at the moment. I don't know if you saw our game against Glasgow, that tap and go when we failed to tap. It's just little things like that. Poor decision making.
That was so funny. I
had to laugh. I didn't want to laugh at it, but when I watched it, I just thought that's so Dragonsy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking everything into account. I'm going to say Ulster by 33 points. That was my prediction.
Right,
and I take no pleasure in saying that, but I think it's going to be another heavy defeat. How do you see it going, Ian? I know we obviously think Ulster will win, but will it be a heavy win, a big win? Do you think?
Well, look, I just noticed the last two home games against Dragons, we scored 40 points in both of those. But Dragons were in the mid-teens against us, so that's 20, 25 points, something like that. Look, I will settle for a decent win. I'm not one of these that wants to see points racked up just for the sake of points being racked up. Yes, play everything out, but I'd be more than happy with with a bonus point win, and if that's 35-15 or 40 points to 20 or something like that, there, I'd be happy enough. I don't, for the sake of the competition, I don't like to see these big one-sided results at the end of it. Definitely, as a supporter, I want to win, and I want to win well. But I also want to see the opposition, putting up a good show as well and giving us a game.
Well, hopefully we'll do that, because we haven't done that the past few games. I don't think, me personally, and I've spoke about it on the pod.
Did you not?
I don't think we've shown enough fight. I don't think the work rate hasn't been there. The bad mistakes, skill set is just lacking. So
you had a couple of half decent performances in the Challenge Cup, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, well, we failed to get out to that pool, and that was very disappointing, because that was a very, I looked at the pool, and you had Iona, you had Poe, and Sharks were there. I expected us to get out to the pool, but we failed. I think losing to Zebra away really did hurt us. We had a good win against Iona. We got a bonus point out in Poe, which was a good result, but I think failing to beat Zebra really killed us. And then, of course, we lost at home to Sharks, and they were, they brought their World Cup contingent down here, so it was difficult. But it's been a very tough campaign. Only 2 wins against Ospreys and Scarlets, because I'm sure you're aware of the situation in Wales. All the budgets now have been decreased, so everyone's working off the same level. And there was an expectation from a lot of people that the Dragons would be more competitive because we're all working off the same budget. That was the expectation. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And it's been a very, familiar, disappointing campaign.
Yeah. Have you lost players to the other regions, Jimmy?
Not yet, but I mean, there's rumours of Tame Basham going to the Scarlets. Right. I think losing Will Rowlands and Ross Moriarty, they were 2 big losses for us.
They were big.
Two big players front and go forward.
Not just big players, but they were also big personalities in your camp as well. So,
absolutely.
I was delighted for you that Wainwright signed his extension.
Yeah.
So and that can only be a good thing. When the other Yeah,
Rio
and
signed a
Rio,
new
yeah,
deal as well.
absolutely. Well, when the other guys are sitting, discussing contracts, and they look around and they see those guys are still there, where else would you want to be, really?
Mm. But it does look like that we're probably going to lose Tane and Leon Brown.
Brown's
Leon Brown just doesn't. He's just never fit, unfortunately. We've had a good
Mhm.
discussion on this pod, me and Gavin. We like Leon. He's got a lot of potential. He's just never fit. He's in the Wales Cup now and he's injured. And
He's
with
injured
budgets
and
coming down, you really got to think now, is he value for money? Can we
Mhm.
afford to keep these players? And it's looking likely that Leon is going to move on, I'm afraid. But with Tay, who
Right.
knows? But the rumour is he could be going to the Scarlets. But like I said,
Mhm.
that's just a rumour at the moment.
And
But,
Elliot, is he there for the long haul?
yeah,
Elliot?
Elliot should be with us. Yeah, I don't know about Bradley. I don't know if he's got another season left, or I mean, I would like to keep Bradley. I think
He
he's
can't be
great, and
costing
he's
you.
very popular.
He can't be costing you a lot of money,
No, I
from.
don't think so. No.
I wouldn't have thought so. But
No.
no, hopefully you can keep those guys and then sort of build around them and become a wee bit more competitive.
Yeah.
If you could even start sort of winning your home games would be a big help, wouldn't it?
I mean, we did win 3 home games in a row, and that's pretty big for the Dragons. Honestly, for other teams, that's nothing. But for the Dragons, that was a big deal. We won 3 in a row, and then, of course, we lost to the Sharks. But you're going to see a lot of young players as well on Saturday. Obviously, because of the injuries and, our international players away. So you will see a more youthful looking Dragons. But as
There
long
will
as we
always,
go there and give it a good crack,
yeah,
I'll be happy with that.
Jamie, there will always be, because I've never had a Wales team come to Ulster and not have someone stand out, and there will always be someone who stands out. I can remember years ago when Rhys Patchell's first game, I think, nearly his first game at professional level, and he was the head and shoulders above everybody in the pitch that night. So someone's going to come over on Saturday with the Dragons, and I'm going to be purring about them later on in the evening, I think, and I'll tweet you and tell you who I thought was your better players. So.
That'll be good. I'd like that. So just give us hope then, as Dragons fans. Is there any areas that the Dragons can target Ulster? Where do you think Ulster are vulnerable?
Oh, they could be vulnerable nearly anywhere. Just depends on the mind. It depends on the mindset. We have the potential to have a really good setup. Front five, maybe. I don't know what your front five is going to look like.
That could be a difficult task, asking us to target the front
five. Maybe if we've Tom Stewart back, he'll help in the front row and O'Toole, but we're a bit light in second row. Henderson's injured. Alan O'Connor was injured. I'm not sure whether he's back or not. Treadwell has a rib injury. I don't think he'll be back. So that's your sort of 3 senior guys out, and then you're down to Harry Sheridan and Cormac Izuchukwu. Both very good players, but quite young and 10 maybe to give you a wee bit of leeway, and you're giving away penalties and stuff like that just through inexperience. So that our back row should be pretty good. I don't know who the halfbacks will be. If we play the same halfbacks, you might have an opportunity to go through that sort of area against us. And then of course there's just the mistakes that our backs have been making, and if we still make those, and then if you can,
sounds familiar. Sounds very familiar.
Yeah,
mistakes.
well, I mean, the scores that Osprey's got in that game against us, and this was the annoying part for me, because we did more than enough in that game to win the game, but we threw that that stupid pass that was intercepted.
Yeah.
Stockdale dropped the ball when it was easier to catch it and run in the score. The line out that Ospreys got that led to the drop goal again was a mistake. Stockdale fielded the ball and basically took it into touch. So the mistakes are there or were there. So it's really down to Dragons if they can capitalise on those, Jamie, and that's what I would be hammering home to them. Always be alert. You know, if you pressurise them, you can pressurise them into making the mistakes, and then, it's down to the guys themselves then as to whether they can capitalise on those. So there's no real one area that I can think of where you can get inroads into us, but I would be expecting them, your coaches, to be, hammering home the message, put them under pressure, and then try and feed off the mistakes.
Brilliant. So a little bit of hope for the Dragons, but as you know all too well, Ian, it is the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's what I was saying on our pod. That's me and Gavin's motto. It's always the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Ian, thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck for the rest of the season. Less so on Saturday. Go easy on us, please. We could do with a bonus point, like a try bonus point would be great. I don't think we'll come anywhere close for losing bonus point. But I mean, if we score 4 tries and come away with a point, I'll be quite happy with that. If I be honest, that's how low we are. Those standards.
I probably wouldn't be happy at conceding 4 tries. But, if we can get away with a decent win, I'll not begrudge it to you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so just before we go, a reminder that you can find us on platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and the Sports Social Network. And if you like what we do, please rate us and leave us a good review, as it all helps to grow the pod. Thanks again, Ian. You've been fantastic. We'll be back very soon. Until then, take care. Goodbye.